Good evening, folks, and welcome to the new Wise Asylum. Got St. Jim's up there, look, St. Jimmy. Huh? It's all changed now, and I'll tell you what, it's a lot more cosy, I have to say. And Sir Jimmy's watching me there. I've got Geronimo watching me here. It's starting to feel a little bit like home, I have to say. So that's got to be good. Yeah, but look at that. St. James is having a look at us as well there, see. What more could you ask for? Eh? What more could you ask for on a Sunday night? So, Bluebeam gone into operation with this drone geezer stuff going on over in the US. And, believe it or not, some fruit bats have decided to attack the fantastic and amazing leader of the Wise Asylum. Can you believe the fruit batness of these people to think that they can attack me and I'd be bothered? Does that face look bothered? Does it look like it gives a shit? No, it doesn't. So we'll get into that as well. We'll go through the shindig as it's been playing out since October. Because if you remember, back in September, at the end of one of the live streams, I did say that I was aware of what's going on in all these groups, pretending to be helping folk when really all they're doing is coining it in. Coining it in. I know who they are, I know what they've been doing, and if I find out where they live, I might give their address away to them that are owed big dosh. Well, in the week after, and of course, you know, I don't talk about this kind of stuff as a general rule because I'm not necessarily here just to piss people off. So I can do it quite easily if I take a mind to it. Because I was doing that for a very long time in the past. And led up to an event in 2014, which isn't a secret. But unfortunately, these fruit bats seem to think they've found a secret that, oh my God, I'm going to be worried about. Well, I've discussed the secret many times on this live stream. So they've not been paying attention. You have zero. And anyway, if you had something on me, I don't care. I'm a big girl. I can take it on the chin. You can talk it. That's all day. So these fruit bats now think they've got some secret and they can now hold it against me and pull me into this battle arena. Well, I'm in. I'll play. I don't really care. I'll play along with you. I'll play along with you. You don't have to pull me in too hard. So we're going to examine the fruit bats, or at least one portion of the fruit bats who had the audacity to attack the fantastic and amazing. So that's coming up. But first, just have a good look at my new Wise Asylum. Isn't that a little bit more pleasing to the eyeballs? Oh, what? And I haven't started yet. I'm going to do it up. We've got speakers here, big speaker. I can make a racket now. No neighbours in the evenings because it's commercial on either side. So that's good. I can bang a noise out all night long now. It's really, really groovy. Got myself a little cabinet there for some of my little goodies. You probably have never seen the desk, but it's the same. It's the same colour as my desk, my big desk here, the Wise Asylum desk. So yeah, Jimmy and Geronimo we've got today watching over us. I haven't put Geronimo up properly yet because I can't find any drawing pins. But I have three Wise Indians there that have always looked after me when I'm in a home. And of course now I can class this as home. And it feels like it now, at least it's starting to. So, Christmas looking good, I have to say. I hope it's looking as good for you guys. So we're going to get into the fruit bats later on. And, yeah, the secret they've got me, well, it's no secret. It was plastered all over Lancashire back in 2014. So I'll explain that to you as well. But I already have many times on this live stream. That was the setup that kicked my little head in. Because I've been doing battle with quite a lot of people for quite a number of years and pretty much got away with me up to that point, apart from the odd shenanigans, of course. But Naturally, if you're going to do battle with these people, you're doing battle and they're going to come back when they can. And 2014 was that time and the event when they kicked my little ass because I got complacent and forgot to keep up on the ball with the law. And basically did everything wrong and ended up getting into quite a bit of trouble on a complete and utter setup. A major setup by the old police back then in 2014. So we'll get into that. More importantly, I'll show you the exchange I had with these characters, and of course I'll leave it up to you to decide what you want to think, because I don't care anyway. I'm still fantastic and amazing, and I'm still running the Wise Asylum, so I don't care. And I've got St. Jimmy watching now, as an addition to the Wise Asylum office, by golly. So there you go. So Bluebeam has been released at last, pray tell. And of course, good timing, is it not? You know, just before the trumpet's about to take office. Ooh, what kind of laws can they try and implement now on the back of this if they can get the fruitcakes to believe that the aliens have arrived? But one interesting thing I've seen about this whole charade is the fact that these drones are actually having a massive effect on certain vehicles. Oh, would that be new ones? I bet people wish they had a Volvo that doesn't have all this electronica in it, because all these new ones that have got all this electronica in it are conking out, stopping, things are not working. So are we going to see an EMP event from these swarms of drones as they work in unison? Ooh, Elon Musk is well involved with this malarkey. So do people still believe Elon Musk is some kind of saint because he's still twatting my Twitter? The bastard. Excuse my French on a Sunday, of course, but he's wrecked my Twitter in a 3-week period, which I find rather disgraceful, to be honest. Yesterday, they wouldn't even let me post, but then it did. I kept playing. So there's obviously something somewhere along the line. They're trying to stop the Twitter account of old Wise Asylum Life in the Mix, which I don't think is very good. It could be working in sync with these shows that we're about to look at. Because, you know, I mean, many years ago I learned that if you're going to act as an investigative journalist, you're going to find things out about people that not only surprise you, but even shock you. However, I also learned that just because I knew certain things about certain people didn't mean I had to publish it. It didn't mean it was for airing for everybody to see. It just meant that you got the full picture of what's going on, what certain people have actually got this all wrapped up in. Because in a lot of cases, people got wrapped up in things that weren't necessarily of their own making. And you have to err on the side of caution in respect of that, because a lot of people get set up. They get set up in order to destroy the character in the eyes of the people. So you learn that lesson pretty early on, that although you're finding out copious amounts of information about certain people as you're investigating some particular event or whatever, it's not necessarily your job to throw it out into La La Land for everybody to see. But you know you have a bigger picture in that sense. You can speak about it privately when you're talking about to people who might have an involvement in such or may benefit from knowing that kind of information. But in general, you learn pretty quickly that you don't essentially have to put everything out that you know about certain things. And it's the same with these groups. You know, I know a lot about these groups, a lot of these groups that are pushing you for money, claiming to be helping you, when in fact basically what they're actually doing is they're just capitalising by using their knowledge against your ignorance. And now that breaches the strong protecting the weak, as far as I'm concerned, and thus puts them in the frame for whatever may come down upon them because of their own actions. So we'll get into that, but let's first have a little look at the gig they've just set going, which has been planned for a very, very long time, and that's Project Bluebeam. So this is the CIA NASA stroke intelligence operation in which they decided that one way that they could force the world to let go of all its nationalistic ideas of sovereignty and freedom and all the things that we're used to in our nations in the West, would be to create an outside threat. And climate change has been one of those. It's a threat that people feel, oh, well, we're all in this together, especially if you haven't worked out yet that actually the climate change is being created through geoengineering. So there's your climate issues, your earthquakes, your tsunamis, because in many cases the tsunamis are created from earthquakes. But all these things are actually a part of this operation, Project Bluebeam. A complete overview of 1994, holographic display, fake alien invasion, second coming, SCAT 30, silver screen, Zycle, Mirage, chemtrails, strontium, barium, niobate, HARP, disclosure, COV-FIF, UFO, Galactic Federation, First Contact, Earthquake, Star Trek, Messiah, Artifact, Star Wars, artificial telepathy, induced seismicity, and 21st century iconoclasm. Now, all these are part of this project, and of course, when we all first started looking into this stuff, 15, 20 years ago, maybe even more for some people, a lot of what we were discussing was still a futuristic technology. You know, we didn't have computers that work to the degree that do here today. We didn't have, or at least they haven't presented this holographic imagery to the degree to which they can create it today. So it makes even more sense today if you were following the trail going way back from the 90s. Now, 1994 were interesting. That's when the woodpecker signal was first heard by the radio envoys, and that's what they claim to be the first use of HARP. It was coming out of the Soviet Union. Russia then, because Soviet Union obviously been dismantled. And apparently in these last couple of weeks, they've actually started to transmit, along with the woodpecker signal, air raid sirens. And this is coming out of Russia, by the way. And it's being picked up by radio on people and anybody else with that kind of receiver technology. So there's a lot of things changing in respect of that. HARP, they say, is the product based on that technology, which causes earthquakes because it's using scalar. It can cause volcanoes to erupt, and of course it can affect the weather. And there's a lot of the geoengineering is spraying particular metal into the atmosphere in order this blue beam can operate by changing the sky itself, or the atmosphere, into a sort of a movie screen by which these holographic projectors can actually form an image in the atmosphere. But it looks pretty much like these drones that are going on in New Jersey are real. They're solid 3D objects, and yeah, it's odd, isn't it? It's odd when you look at the responses from the powers that be in relation to how they're trying to not deal with it. Normally, if there were some kind of threat like that, although let's look back to 9/11, when everything that was there to protect US was stood down, Cheney at the helm, you would expect anything like that to have been attacked full on by NORAD, which is the United States air defense system, which incorporates everything on the land as well, and of course the Navy. But no, that's not what's going on. They want everybody to shit themselves and believe that it's the aliens, .gov. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that suck into this. I've seen a few shorts on some of these platforms this week where guys are saying, I'll tell you what this is. This is spiritual. This is aliens and demons. And it's like, oh, for God's sake, get a grip. It's Bluebeam. Like the Miami Mole event that happened earlier this year, where you were supposed to believe there were aliens or demons going on. It's Bluebeam. This This is the capacity they now have with these holographic projectors to make things real, i.e. you CGI and everything now you've got going on if you're watching anything on the internet. It's very difficult now to discern what's real and what isn't. And that's confusing for people that are seeking the truth of the matter, because you're like, well, how do you work around that? How could you possibly work around that? People are seeing it with the two thieves, so therefore to them it's real. I mean, if you look down in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, you'll see the Ankh. Now that's the symbol of the two thieves have been cancelled out and you're operating the third eye. And you're seeing in the fifth, that's what that represents. The thieves are not there, you're not there. It's a loop and not the cross. Without the eye operational. The thieves are not operational in that symbolism. That's what that's for. But most people, the thieves are looking, the thieves are seeing, and they will see what they're told they're seeing. So they've definitely kicked it off. That's a fact. It's not something new to us. We've known about it for a long time. But will it actually work? I mean, I don't know. You know, a lot of people are stuck on Star Wars and Star Trek. All these pre-programming telegraphing that they've been doing to shove this stuff in people's minds. I mean, a lot of the people in the dance scene back in the 90s were, if you got into conversation with them, it weren't long before you could tell that they were either Star Wars addicts and believed in the Force man and Jedi and all that stuff. But as it's been presented in the actual flick, and also Star Trek. So many people got sucked into that like it was some kind of heavenly, informative essential that you needed to carry forward into your future so you could actually understand, well, no, it's just programming, getting you ready for this garbage. Because when people start seeing holograms of Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and whomever they're deciding to put up there, they're going to believe it. They're going to believe it. It's going to bolster the belief system, and off they go. That's what happens when you're programmed and you're not thinking for yourself. You're taking your input from external to yourself, not the kingdom within, as the man made clear, is the way it's meant to be. You're in the image of, remember, but you're not if you kept taking your imagery and your input from outside of yourself. Oh yeah, you're not. So you're not in the kingdom of the Father. You're in the kingdom of some other God. It all makes sense, really, when you break it down to simplicity and get rid of the technical garbage which is there to knock you off the game. You've got the Theosophical Society since the 1800s. Getting this ready, creating the platform and foundation for this stuff. You've got all the lizard people and all this malarkey that's been pushed by Ike and everything. It's all a part of this Project Bluebeam via MK Ultra, via Hollywood, via music and the lyrics that they use. And I've noticed as well that I've had a lot of psychic stuff come up on my Facebook of recent weeks as well, and I've noticed all these psychics are specifically expressing the term person and specifically expressing the term human, forcing it in people's minds and claiming it's coming from a spiritual source. Now, you know, we know, like the Wise Asylum, the difference between person and man, and we know what person is. It's the rights that are afforded to the construct of the Catholic Church, the human, a shade of man. Hue as in shade of, man. Yeah, and according to Valentine's monster, it's a sea monster. Or a man without any rights whatsoever. No rights, no freedoms. A golem, in fact, well, definitely a slave. But if you incorporate the doctrines of the Lubavitchers, then you're dealing with the golem. You're dealing with non-entities, basically, that they acknowledge that they can control because they've emptied that form of life on this plane. So it all makes sense. Let's put it that way. But not if you've only got snippets of it in your mind, you're going to struggle still. But Project Bluebeam, here it is, it's on. And who's going to check it on? I don't know. People have been shooting at them, which is, I think, that's good. Because if you think about it, if you think about the games that they've played in secret using Tesla's science as opposed to the shit that they shoved down your neck that they came through Einstein, which, when you break it down, is utter garbage. Even E equals MC squared has absolutely no bearing in fact. It's a fantasy. It's just, it's evidence of nonsense. And in fact, you could say Einstein saved the pseudoscience of such as the Royal Society and all incorporated agencies that come from that around the round table. Einstein actually saved the pseudoscience and again allowed them to continue to use the Tesla tech and science in the background for the military industrial. So it's there if you've been paying attention. Most people haven't been paying attention, and of course a big part of this game that people perhaps don't register as a programming operation has been the use of arcade games first. You know, the arcade games that came out back in the 80s, maybe even the 70s, I'm not sure. That was the first move of programming people to space, to lasers and all the things that go with this Project Bluebeam. And then, of course, it became Xbox and it became PS2 and whatever they're on now. All there to program you to accept this kind of nonsense as real. And there you go. I mean, today especially, it's the biggest pastime for most males is Xbox or PS2. Non-productive adventures. It's probably the least productive thing you can do because it doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give you any physical benefit. It certainly doesn't give you any mental benefit for the simple fact is it pulls all your energy to your frontal lobes. There's your aggression, there's your anger, there's your confusion in your life in general. And, you know, everything they've done has been through entertainment, if you're paying attention, how they've used entertainment in all its forms to reprogram you, take you off the game, to project outside of yourself to find your input as to how you should be, what you should believe, how you should speak, to the point you've got all these younger generations today, it's just derogatory, or the whole language that they use against each other, with each other, is just derogatory. And to them it's normal, but that's because they don't actually understand the importance of language, the spoken word. But, you know, that's just a stepping stone down to the degeneration of intellect that's taken place probably in the last 200 years, we might say, but especially so once they've got the printing press, and then especially with the radio, the television, Hollywood, and mixing jazz from swing and the blues, giving them a massive platform to excite the masses to dance and really take them off the old the path, as it were. 60s, perfect. Introduction of drugs. Properly removing people's sound foundation of thought and opening them up to all sorts of ideas about how it should be, what they should be. Like with the females, you see, I mean, this is something for the females to ponder, you know, you feminists that have been so since the 60s. What was it that made you think that removing the masculine energy from running this nation, or the Western nations, when every other nation on the earth was run by masculine energy? What did you think would happen if you removed your nation from being run by the only energy that could rebut all the other nations running on the masculine energy. You didn't really think about that one, did you? You know what I'm saying? Now we are here as we are today. A feminine energy running our nations and now being completely supplanted by nations that didn't run for this so-called sacred feminine garbage, because that's not the sacred feminine. The sacred feminine knows very well that down here it has to submit to the spiritual masculine, because that's what runs this plane, whether we like it or not. And the consequence of that is a demasculated male, a system of governance that's complete and utter garbage, because you're being run on contracts now by a private enterprise who are extorting your estates, and you don't even know it in most cases. So it was never a good idea to remove the masculine energy from running the Western nations while all the other nations were still running on the masculine energy. Here we are today. What a fucking mess, isn't it just? You know, now you've got males running around in pyjamas, lipstick, think they've got fangitas, they think they can have... I saw something the other day where they've invented a doll so a trans ginger can stick it up its ass and pretend it's giving birth. Now, there's no masculine energy on the planet that would accept that. But the fantasy that comes with the unfettered, negative, unbalanced feminine energy, well, it comes in mass amounts. No masculine energy on the planet will accept any of that nonsense. Not at all. But that's done. It's done until the male wakes up again and starts to rise. I'm talking about the Western male, of course. So shooting these drones could be a good kickstart to that, because the future, in my opinion, looking at it from now, we're looking at Terminator kind of territory. Your survival is going to be based on how well you can destroy these robots and these drones, isn't it? Now, I'd say the boffins out there need to start thinking about, how do we create our own EMPs? And how do we focus that EMP in a manner that can take out these swarms? I mean, if you haven't been paying attention to some of the military hardware that they've got in relation to robots, just the dogs that carry the equipment now. Now, I mean, some guys are out there telling you exactly where the CPU is and where you'd have to shoot it, which is fine if you're in the US. They're still armed to the teeth. But here on Blighty, we have to first get back to the position we used to have, which is become armed before we can even consider attacking a CPU in some of these robotic monstrosities that they're going to unleash as and when they have annihilated enough of the populations through religious conflict, which of course Bluebeam is going to enhance in all manner. I mean, you know, it's not news to guys like me who have been looking at this stuff for years. Now, when I looked into this years ago, what I found, the first mention of it was in 1917, so that's a long time ago, at a conference being held by these roundtable groups, in which one particular guy stood up and said, you know, if we were to formulate a threat from the outside, would that not encourage the people to forego their rights to freedoms and their idea of nationalism? And that's the next time we heard anything of it. I think it was 1936 when the Third Reich claimed to have shot one of these craft down and been given knowledge in relation to a lot of the tech. But people forget something, and that is the IG Farben, in which all that the Third Reich created was funded by Boeing, Ford, AT&T, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Northrop Grumman, ICI, and a plethora of other inner city or East India Company conglomerates via Wall Street. So if they're claiming that the aliens met with Hitler, then of course They didn't just meet with Hitler. This came from those running the East Indias, which, of course, as a company, as they are, we know the Jesuits have always called themselves the company. So we can see it's a Roman operation. And always has been. But you get into the occult side of the Third Reich, and it's very clear that what we're going on with that lot is these occultists were tapping into, as you might say, a new round of demonic entities that have been around in the times of Atlantis and all the other times that have been, it was their time again to be rebirthed into this realm in order they could speak to these occultists. And so they were given this technology. So we're not so much talking about extraterrestrial, we're just talking about without physical form, but of course still attached to the Earth. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is where you get your origin of certain entities have been trapped in certain parts of the underworld and now are being released. So it does all make sense, but the occult side of the Third Reich is so huge and such a huge sort of study. I mean, it's very clear, you know. I nearly said his name then, but it's just gone again. But one particular occultist back in the day was the guy himself who claimed to have actually plugged in Adolf Hitler. And his advice were to follow this man, he will dance, but it was this particular Eckhart. No, I can't remember. That this was the guy that had called the tune, meaning in occult circles that actually he was the guy that plugged Hitler in to this specific demonic force. You read the memoirs of Hitler's personal secretary. He supports that in his writings about what he saw going on around Adolf Hitler. Occult energies all the time. Then in most cases he was just an average normal guy, highly intelligent. But then when they built up these occult rituals and they had all the lights up, the red and the black and the swat, all this symbolism, perfected rituals to invoke Mars. And once these sorts of rituals were set up for these mass rallies, the minute Hitler stood at the podium, he became a conduit for these energies, and then that's where a lot of his speech would come from. And so that comes from Hitler's personal secretary. And so you can see that it's the occult side of things from where this data, this technology and all this science has come from, not necessarily some aliens, you might say, whether reptile or whatever. And then you've got the introduction of this climate change was the guy that brought through the Pleiadians. I forgot his name right now. Because you study his work and the sort of core ethos of it was bringing into form the idea of the ozone layer. So you can see, coming hand in hand with this script, was the formulation of the climate change script, another agenda in which they thought they could use it to create an outside threat, and again, to force the peoples to forego the nationalistic identities, and become one, because this threat comes from the outside and it affects us all. So one begets the other. You know, the alien agenda as it's been formed did indeed beget this climate scam. So theosophy, you might say, was probably the beginnings of it. And from theosophy was born all the anarchist movements, sex magic, Aleister Crowley, all these offshoots of, all bathed in the occult, all of it. It's entirely based in the hidden side of life that most people don't necessarily understand or even accept is real. Black magic, all the kind of stuff that goes on. Well, it's very real. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And I suppose if you've never needed to think about it, that's good, because it probably means you've not been doing much to where people really give a shit about what you're doing. You're not a threat, or you've not got the right energy that they can utilise for their own ends. So be thankful for that. But then most people are exactly victims of it. But of course it never enters their head that that's exactly what's going on. And these secret societies These cults are all a part of how this hidden world becomes grounded in the physical world and gets spread amongst the normal people, the populations, as it were. So they all work together in sync. It's all about outside threats just to get you all to forego your national identity, even your religious identity. But of course, for that, it was always been the product that deals with mass slaughter of peoples through people's belief systems. So that's still on the table as well, because it's an essential part of the mix, as it were. So Project Bluebeam is off and away. Is it going to work? Well, I mean, some people are getting a bit savvy to it already, and they've got one here, a report from Tyler Durden, Zero Edge, and he says, NJ drone invasion just in time for Congress to reauthorise Orwellian law. It says a series of drone sightings over New Jersey that began in mid-November has left residents and lawmakers spooked about the possibility of foreign adversaries breaching US airspace with drone swarms. Well, I mean, for a start, if that was the case, they'd have been knocked out immediately by NORAD. So they certainly, no matter what they might tell you, have got anything to do with a foreign power. While officials have attempted to reassure the public, some lawmakers have stoked fear, leading to widespread panic on social media, with people interpreting anything moving in the night sky as a potential drone, even commercial jets and stars. So panic, that's panic, isn't it? That's when people panic, they're not seeing it right. Everything is an enemy, a bit like what we'll see has been going on with this particular group that have took it upon themselves to throw shit at me. You know, they're in fear, they're in panic because the game's outed. And so they're afraid of everybody and anything now that may break their secrets that they thought they had, which allowed them to capitalise by their knowledge on people's ignorance. So there's an image mystery drone spotted in northeast. I think we might just make that a little bit bigger. You can see it. Is that a bit better? Hang on, make that a little bit bigger even. There we go. So it says, days ago, the FBI and the US Homeland Security Department released a statement indicating we have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or public safety threat or have a foreign nexus. Well, that's because they don't. Historically, we have experienced cases of mistaken identity where reported drones are, in fact, manned aircraft, the federal agencies said. White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby said many of the purported drone sightings are commercial jets with no evidence of national security or public safety threat. Now, that's not true because a lot of people can clearly see that they've got 4 propellers. If actual truck-sized drones, some say Iranian origin, come on, let's get real. We're flying in some of the world's most restricted airspace. Let's use common sense. The Pentagon would have scrambled F-22s and F-35s on the East Coast almost immediately. However, don't forget, NATO's got all our military forces playing out in Europe and Scandinavia, haven't they? You see, this is a big part of how they've removed our militaries from the West, and that's the formation of NATO. NATO calls it, off they go. We're now left with what? Fruitbat Police, FEMA, and other associated private security forces, all operating under the auspices of the United Nations. Okay, and remember, the biggest military or proportion of military on-the-ground troops attached to the United Nations is China and some of the African countries. But remember, all these militaries are one military. It's the military industrial, warned about by Eisenhower way back in the day. Since that hasn't happened, as far as we know, well, it hasn't, because you'd have seen it, we can't help but be suspicious about the whole drone situation. Additionally, no private satellite data shows that Iranian drones carriers are parked off the coast. In fact, these vessels are located 7,500 miles away. Who would want you to think it's Iran? For a start, back engineer this game, this script. There's only one little place that would want you to believe it's Iran, isn't there? Let's be honest about it. So let's take a step back and review some of Elon Musk's tweets on X. Drone swarm battles are coming that will boggle the mind. Epic drone wars coming. The drone wars are already a big deal, but we ain't seen nothing yet. So, yeah. So what did Elon know ahead of time? Drone swarm battles coming, so that's September the 30th, 29th, and then January the 5th, 2023, when he first said drone wars are already a big deal. Well, I mean, that's the majority of what was going on in Afghanistan and Iraq. They were testing out these new systems, especially under Bolsonaro, or Obama, as they call him. That were his game, playing these, expanding the drone situation. I remember when they started launching Reapers and Predator drones for the police to use over Blighty. Because they're that far up, you can't see them with the naked eye. And these things can hover for like 10 hours. This is why, if you remember, they first launched the helicopters. And then all of a sudden, you didn't see that many helicopters anymore. That's because the Reapers and Predator drones had took over that role. And now it's rare you see a police helicopter, isn't it? It's rare. Having said that, there's been a couple of events these last couple of weeks around here, but it went from police helicopter out every 10 minutes to all of a sudden they didn't really come out anymore. But that's because they'd replaced that technology. Even President-elect Trump wrote on the True Social platform, "Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge?" I don't think so. Let the public know, and now otherwise shut them down. Or shoot them down, I probably should say. Fox News reporter Bill Mulligan asked Musk on X his thoughts on the situation. Alien spaceships controlled by Iran or BV, Musk replied. So there you go, Musk. Who wants everybody to believe it's Iran? So Musk making that statement is pretty clear what trust he works for. Would that be the no-hide trust? Well, I would say yes, given his bestie mates with King Cyrus. And according to the video we watched last week, he himself is the king of Babylon. Interesting. So there he is. He says alien spaceships controlled by Iran. Obviously. Oh, it looks like he's taking the piss a bit. Okay, fair dues. I'll give you that, Elon. That's me not watching it properly. No actual drones have been recovered, and footage on X frequently features amateur video mistaking drones for commercial aircraft. Furthermore, as far as we know, the FAA has not closed large sections of airspace or diverted planes. While we are not dismissing the possibility of foreign adversary-operated drones breaching heavily restricted airspace, we are pointing out the extraordinary hype on social media with no substance, which has caused widespread panic, with some users on X calling this a psyop. Well, of course, that's exactly what it is. Now, somebody called Cobra Stuart Swartz said, "This is a psyop in and out. I have been tracking flights in and out of New York, New Jersey region while these drones were in the sky, and not a single airspace alert or diversion was issued for flights passing overhead. If the US government suspected foreign control possibly hostile," and then we don't get to see the rest. So there he has an image of flight radar showing pretty much everything's going on as hunky-dory. Now, there are solid drones, some people have seen them, but then we have to consider the ability with these holographic images coming directly out of Bluebeam. And a lot of what George H. Bush talked about with space Star Wars systems, I don't know whether you remember that far back. But when you got into the patents and the nitty-gritty of that science, what they were attempting to do were put up satellites or balloons with laser technology that could form these holographic images. But we also know that China have created such massive swarms of drones that work synchronized one body, and of course it's now being claimed today that AI is actually running that system as well. So whereas the Reapers and the Predator drones needed highly skilled pilots, remote control, these new drones are actually being run by AI, which again shows another massive advance in this Terminator sort of Skynet kind of system. So Nightwatch N8 says Elon Musk put this out months before the current drone psyop over New Jersey. He said, so I wait for the pre-packaged solution from this latest government manufactured crisis to come in the form of Elon's Starshield and Peter Thiel's Palantir. Epic drone wars coming. So, interesting, yeah. Are they going to want to more money for Elon Musk's system? Because that's where all his money comes from. The government. It's all government funded. Like NASA. Interesting, yeah. It could be called for that to further expand his so-called authority in this game. Is this the cause of the drone uproar? The FAA Reauthorization Act of 2018 expires on December the 20th. The replacement being pushed is a bigger grab at taking our freedoms. New HR 8610 Counter UAS Authority Security Safety and Reauthorization Act of 2024, which will include, and then we don't get to see that. Ted Cruz says, every day in Senate I fought for jobs, freedom and security. Just look at the FAA Reauthorization Act. We've worked hard across the aisle to pass this landmark legislation. This bill will do so much to support the aviation industry and jobs in the Lone Star. So, I've never liked him when I've watched him in Congress. He's slick. It's my new word, by the way, after that court case the other week. Slick is the new word to identify these fruitcakes. So, although he's always been erring on the side of good data in the Congress, I've never trusted him. And because there's another couple of geezers as well in there that again present themselves as giving you something good, but I just don't trust them. FAA Reauthorization Act 2008 expires on December the 20th. So the federal government is literally using a terrorism drone mystery psyop against you to manipulate Congress into passing the new HR 8610 Counter UAS Authority Security Safety thing. So started to make a little bit more terra firmer sense, is it not? I would say. Bob's News, this account was deleted, yet it's the most believable reason I've seen for all the drones. And just trying to look into that, which is even difficult for me to see. I can't actually see what they're doing. But I think it's got something to do with that FAA gig. And a bit more there. We're capable of, hang on, what's it say? They make no mistake, a dirty bomb, or was until now the greatest threat to America. A few going off in New York City and Central LA would what? Something us. The evidence we need to respond in kind would be impossible to get in time or at all, to our toys would be worthless with no target. Cripple us, that's what it says, cripple us. So, oh, and how do I know they're not foreign ordered? Because I'm confident they're HPC drones. But even if you didn't believe me, you can see they have bright lights on them to keep our air traffic safe. Something an enemy couldn't care about, which is quite correct. And I've noticed the police using drones a lot more here, and they have bright green light underneath that flashes. It's a flash, then it goes off for a few seconds. And then I've noticed that it goes off as well. They can turn that off as well as they see fit. I've also noticed some of these smaller drones that people are using now also have green lights on, but they usually have two on, the smaller ones. Whereas a larger police drone has one single one, intermittent flashing with quite a long gap in between. So X-User says, makes the point that the purported drone sightings could be a psyop against you to manipulate Congress into passing the new. So it looks like that's pretty much the sensible consensus as to what what's actually going on with these drones. And of course, you remember over here on Blighty, wherever you've got a sort of secretive air base, like here we have Wharton, which is on the Ribble Estuary, on the St Anne's side, as you're coming out of Freckleton. Interesting that at Blackpool is a major experiment for voice-to-head technology, and has been at least since 2008, when I experienced it, actually, when I'd gone to visit a guy called David Boyle, who claimed to be a channeler of Anu, and of course he wouldn't he, because Wharton were using this technology, probably bouncing off Blackpool Tower, but of course that's speculation. And is it any wonder that Blackpool has been encouraging all the smackheads for decades to get themselves into Blackpool, and then they're all hearing voices, you know? It's like, it all makes perfect sense without having to get off planet, if you get my drift, you know? So I would suggest they're onto it there. It is, in fact, another method to force this new bill through. And we're on the 15th, so they want that in on the 20th. It makes perfect sense to me. And because it's only in one area, you know, why just New Jersey? You know, obviously you're going to be coastal if you're an enemy, but it's such a garbage that this is some kind of enemy. You wouldn't get anywhere near. You would at least assume, but then we have to remember 9/11 as well, you know, when NORAD failed miserably, but it didn't. It was stood down by the likes of Dick Cheney. So that's the Bluebeam as it's presented itself in what I've looked at this week. So we'll have a look at who's on here, and then we'll get into these fruit bats. And we'll have a little look at this tosser who, you know, thinks he's something, this guy. This guy is an ex-banker, thinks he's something special. Well, bud, you're just a prick in my book. I've been keeping an eye on what you've been doing for quite some time. There's a lot of people have been coming, talking, telling me all about you. And I'm more than happy to take you on, son, if you want to play that game with me, because you've nothing you'll find on me that that's not already out there, pal. That I'll tell you. So if you're watching, son, keep watching. All right, keep watching. John says, hello, John. Mew says, will Sean have a new backdrop of palm trees on white sandy beaches? No, St. Jimmy. St. Jimmy and Geronimo. Is that all right for you, Mew? It does look a little bit more pleasant, doesn't it? Let's be honest. And I'm going to jig it up. I'll make it look a bit more cosy, like a den. Why not? And Paul says, good evening, Sean and fellow mates. Good evening, Paul. John Francis says, good vid already. Thanks, John. Kerry says, love from Ireland. Thanks for all you do. Love back to Ireland, and you're more than welcome, Kerry. Good evening. Benefactor, hi, Sean and the Wise Asylum team. Looking forward to your presentation tonight. Evening, Benefactor, Lone Rizzler. Evening, all, Sean, and some week. Oh, have you had a funny week? Or have you been watching the fruit bats? Because I know it's out there, and of course I haven't bothered looking because I experienced the whole gig myself. And I'll explain it to you. Plain and simple. Full 100% setup. And as the game went on, everybody involved could see it was a full-blown setup. But I'll explain it to you again so that you fully understand. Upward Dog says, hi Sean and fellow inmates, great to be here. Evening, Upward Dog, and good to have you here. Nick says, how do? Hi to all. Evening to you, Nick. Slipknot, hey up Sean, alright everyone, evening Slipknot. John says, fruit bats welcome. Well, they're always welcome to come and listen. We don't mind that, John. Upward Dog, Mupit, how are you, mate? June says, good evening, Sean and panel. Evening, June. Jane says, hi all, just made it in time after being abducted by aliens. Did they prod you? Did you get prodded and sexually assaulted? Were you lucky enough? Evening, Jane. Mew says, all good, thanks, hope you're all well. Upward. John says, good vid again. Thanks, John. You're good and you. Solve a miss, hello Sean. Very fancy room, well done. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I mean, I've only just kicked it off and started. We'll make it a little bit more cosy as we go. So, but look at that. Say it, Jimmy. What else could you ask for? You know, the auspices have got to be good. Better than a cell, says Solve a miss. It surely is. Even to Solve a miss. June says Labour Party giving 50 million to Syria. Yeah. Well, who's Al Qaeda? ISIS, ISIL. All Western trained and controlled terrorist operations. Which shows Islam, if they're awake, that your religion is 100% controlled by the same. And you think you're fighting the empire? No, you are the empire. You're being captured. Face reality. Recycling Gestapo, I Sean and all the wise asylum. Nice picture of Jimmy. He played in 4-3-2-8-Z down a semitone from concert pitch. Did he, by golly? Now that just looks like an image at this point, but it's actually a very intricately made pizzazz thing, which doesn't really do it justice. But it's not. It is the image that we can see. We've seen it many times. But this guy that formed that has really gone to 10 and made a really good effort. I had to buy it when I saw it. I just had to. He was just like, "Come, Jimmy said. Jim said, come and nick me, come and nick me." So that's good. That's a good auspice for some when I get cracking on some of this honky tonk writing that I'm going to crack on with. So that might get interesting. So yeah, thanks for that recycling. Somebody says with Christmas, don't do the small hats game and see they're just cancelling out you saying Christmas, Christ's Mass, and it doesn't matter. We know we weren't born then and all that like it, but the mass that we all used to have was Mass Christ. So don't be afraid to say the term. Where are we? With Christmas approaching, friends be selective with whom one shares one's thoughts on about conspiracy. Just a bit of truth and advice, especially with family members. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, today I heard a youngster having a conversation, and interesting because talking about how they weren't accepting that all these conditions that people have need to be labelled and tracked, that in a lot of cases it's just people need to get a grip, grow up and stop acting like a twat. And I had to concur, of course, because that's exactly how it used to be, isn't it? We had to deal with it ourselves. Not go, oh, that is it, I've got an excuse, I don't have to do anything about it, give me some medication. Yeah, and so that were interesting to hear a very young chap talking in that frame of mind, so there's hope, yeah. Mew says, all family members don't talk to me anymore. I'll talk to you, Baz. I'll talk to you. Well, it's just the way it is. I mean, I went through that phase for a long time. You know, and then you stop banging your head against a brick wall and you just leave them to it. And but it all seems to come full circle eventually. You've just got to leave them to it because banging your head against a brick wall isn't good for not having headaches and migraines. And I mean, I have to say, I learned that the hard way back in the day. You know, you're trying to help them, but they don't want to be helped. So you're not actually helping them. You're just aggravating them. So it will come full circle, Mew. Believe me, I have seen it. It works that way. Same here says Solve Miss. Yeah. But honestly, take my advice. Because, I mean, I experienced this in the 90s. So it's a long time ago. But let it go. Focus to what you're doing, and it all comes full circle, and then it changes somewhat, especially if they're not as stupid as some people can be. So, yeah, but honestly, cut yourself off from the emotional tie to it, accept that they're there where they are because that's where they want to be, and just get on with what you're doing, and it will come full circle. Not all of them, but you know, as they have more 2020 events, the more chance you've got of them coming back to start asking questions. Now, that's when it gets interesting. when people ask you a question. I mean, I pretty much put it down to that now. I don't go out my way anywhere now talking this stuff anywhere. I don't talk about this stuff to anybody unless they ask me a question. Then I'll give it to them. But of course, people in my circle that I talk to, we talk about this stuff. But in general, which is a very small circle, by the way, by choice. But yeah, I don't even discuss this stuff. But I mean, obviously, locally and around here, everybody knows what I do. And I find more and more these days people do want to approach and they do want to ask specific questions. And I'll always answer it. I'll always give them the best I know at the time on the point that they're after. And that, it works. It works. So it's a learning curve, really. But stop banging your head against it because it won't work. Saving on cards and presents, that's another bonus. That is another bonus there, Baz. Solomon, you're better off in some cases. Yeah, absolutely. Jerry says they have a light show on publicly and it projected onto spraying water, a portal to the constellations. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of this barium and these metals particles that they're putting into the atmosphere are to change the pH in the soil, but also they use it to turn the atmosphere into a projector. A screen, rather, so that they can project these images onto it. But I did see somebody firing at one, and it did look like it was going through it. So maybe a lot of these are actually holographic shindigs, you know what I mean? It could very well be. Life is like a tabletop Space Invaders amusement game. Well, they certainly had that being shoved down everybody's necks for a very long time, have they not? I play Space Invaders. If you switch the machine off and on at the plug fast, and you could get free credits. Trust you to know that, Baz. Honest. Solomon said he did that as well. You naughty boys, you too. Pool room in Warrington Punks Pub Happy Times, says Mew. Recycling says Gary Newman down in the park. Ooh, I remember that tune. Did he do some remixes as well? And what was the other one he did as a remix? There was two really good tunes that he did as remixes. So I did actually like his... It were new, weren't it, Gary Newman, when he come out? It were heavy synth, real electronica stuff. It stood out. Our Friends Electric, when that come out, that were like, whoa, what's this? So miss, it certainly was for most a great time, experience new things growing up. I think we're still learning new exciting things in this world. So miss, Mew Pit for you, mate. Lorraine says, evening everyone, good evening to you, Lorraine. Good advert for Trump's golf club. Yeah, he got one up in Scotland. Chedge1 says, Palantir launched a new tech partnership called WorkSpeed this week, really indeed. And Nouveau Laredo, evening all, evening to you, Nouveau, welcome. Yeah. And Jerry says Deliveroo. Okay. Well, are they delivering stuff on drones? It's a bit out there. You just get one of them, you know, them pieces of rope with bobbles on, and you've got a drone. Yeah. And I do think in the future, your survival rate is going to be based on how well you can kill these drones and then reprogram them to work for you. Now, wouldn't that be a good one? Wouldn't that be a good idea? But it does seem to be where we're going. You know, it's not as far out there anymore, really. Upward says, I've started to use natural zeolite called Masterpiece to remove these particles. Now then, I've seen something on that, lad, and it's a bit dangerous. Be careful. I don't know how far down you are with that, but I did see something where they said, be careful, because, and I can't remember what the danger were, because to be honest, I'd never heard of it before. So just seek out and just put into Devil, zeolite, dangers, and see what comes up. And now I don't know whether it's right or not, but you might want to just check that out. Called Masterpiece to remove these particles, what they are spraying out of the system. I found out about this from Crow 777 podcast. a podcast I trust. Okay. So yeah, just check that out, mate. I only saw it this week, but like I said, I'd not heard of it before. But I thought I'll take note of that name, and it was Zeolite. So keep your eyes on that. Right, chaps and chapesses. So I'm going to go back to 2020 and just kick this off. But in 2020, I teamed up with a guy called Danny Mullins. Now, probably known to most as Danny Patronymic. And Danny did a lot of good for people who, especially some old girls who were bedded in the system for many, many years in their life and started to expose what they were seeing going on. And then the state put them in mental institutions. And basically, Danny was always in court for these people, trying his best to get them off and get them out. And he did a lot of good work, did Dan. He'd had a kidneys transplant and a pancreas, so he wasn't in the best of health. And his problem was he didn't like taking the drugs. And I used to say to him, but these particular drugs, I think you need them. Because the drugs that he didn't like taking were the very ones that were stopping his body from rejecting the transplant. But being his own man, he did what he wanted to do. As it turned out, they ended up killing him. He started when they sectioned him. They basically injected him with some stuff and then sent him out to die. So the very thing you were fighting against actually did come back to bite him in the end. And it was a sad thing. But I was very glad that I got to know the guy. He was a lovely chap and we got on well. He used to come up here of a weekend. We'd talk shit, take DMT and talk law and put the world to rights, as it were. And so we had some crack. Now, we're back in either 2020-21. He was invited down south to a flossy to talk law, which he went. He went a couple of times. And of course, shared his experiences with me in full. And he also shared his thoughts of what he saw going on. Now, his biggest thing was that this particular flossy presented herself as being a full-blooded Christian. So the image I had was, oh, there's a lovely flossy that goes to church, blah, 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 blah. But then he started to say, but everything about her is garbage. She's not a Christian. She's just pretending to be a Christian. And that was basically what I've learned about this particular flossy. I never thought anything else of it. Back to what I was saying before, in that you can get to know a lot about people, but you don't necessarily have to thrust it out there for everybody to see. So that was the beginnings of my sort of learning of this group of people. Then I learned that she partnered up with this particular guy, who by all accounts had quite a bit of respect from certain quarters. I didn't really know much about him because I have to be honest, I don't watch people. It's very rare I watch other people's platforms or really care. I find out stuff by people making contact with me and explaining their experiences with these people. There have been occasions when I've Zoomed with a lot of these people. I've communicated with a lot of these people and seen firsthand, in some cases, the game. And of course, being me, I used to put a sentence in there and they couldn't answer it because it would have exposed the whole gig to all the adherents. And on a couple of occasions with some of these groups, especially in America and Canada, I did just that. And then obviously, I wouldn't welcome any more, which were fine because I weren't really interested anyway. So I have kept a good take on what goes on out there and just exactly what kind of games are being played against people. But in the main, I always look at it from this perspective. It's usually people getting shafted by people who are better at capitalising and gathering in funny money than they are. And again, I think to myself, well, there's a lesson there for you. And I don't get excited to the point where I feel I have to run around and spread the word, man. However, in this particular case, so this goes back to last year when I was aware that this particular group, two people in particular, were offering the services for people to claim back the monies spent via the bank, and if they had receipts, whatever cash they'd spent, through the 1099 system. They were charging, now of course this is what I'm told, I haven't got a clue because I don't care, but what I've been told is that they were charging £1,500 per year, so you can go back 3 years. So if you were greedy and you wanted 3 years worth, you're looking at £4.5 grand. You're handing over to this couple, but also you had to subscribe monthly at a cost of £90. So these people were pulling it in. They were pulling in big money, because there's a lot of people that have wanted to claim back the entire amount of money that's gone through their accounts and what they've spent cash if they've got the receipts. I can understand that's nothing wrong with it, really. If it's a right that you can claim that back, go ahead and get on with it. That's good. So these two were operating up the services for that, claiming they had trustees in the US who would act as the trustees, and through the £90 subscriptions, they would teach you how to fill out these forms. And from all intents and purposes, it all seemed to be well. And I think this began last year. And then this year is, so you've got a time period from when you start to when you start to recoup. Now, what I started to learn this year from people obviously getting in contact and telling me was that they'd sent in all the forms, etc., to the IRS, all seemed well, and then all of a sudden, people were getting letters from the IRS basically saying, if you don't withdraw this claim, you're in big trouble. So obviously these people were shitting themselves, because all of a sudden you've got the United States of America IRS saying, listen pal, you might be on blighty, but who do you think you are, and we're going to kick your head in. So you can imagine the fear that must have been going on with these people. They've shelled off all this money, they're paying £90 or whatever subscription monthly, and all of a sudden they're faced with this IRS telling them, hey pal, withdraw the claim, knowing full well, oh, we spent money here. Now, that's fine, it's all well and good, mistakes can be made. And I accept and acknowledge that. And it can be a mistake made by the guys filling out the form themselves, or it could be that they've been led down a false path by those taking the money. Either way, that stands for me, it's irrelevant, it's just people chasing money. It's not worked, you've lost some money. However, what did sort of grind somewhat, and this is earlier in the year, was the fact that these people that had received these letters from the IRS, once they approached the two amigos that were pushing this scheme, were met with absolute virile abuse, to the point they were being threatened with letters of taking them to court. And of course these two amigos were then blaming everybody and his dog, but not them, which tends to be the case, doesn't it, when you're an infant? Infants, what do infants do when they're caught? They blame everybody else. It weren't me, Gov, it's him over there. So clearly then you can see these two were on the back foot. And this seemed to be getting bigger and bigger as people were receiving these letters. And so that's the information I had in relation to this particular pair of terrified shysters, as it looks like it was working out. Now, had they not have been shysted, I wouldn't have expected him to be blaming everybody and his cat. I would have expected him to be trying to sort this out, but there was no signs of that. It was just, next doing me, it's IRS, and if you come anywhere near us again, we're going to take you to court, we're going to kill you. Hunt you down and kill your dog, kind of stuff. So I thought, well, that's a bit naughty. That's not fair play, is it? So, and remembering that one of this party is supposed to be a uber Christian girlie. But the other guy was a banker, apparently. Is that a B or a W? Not quite sure. You can make your mind up when you've seen this. So that's the premise of this game. Now, again, as I've said, I've been aware of this stuff, but didn't feel it were for me to say anything. I don't follow this stuff. I'm not signed up to any of the forums. I have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and because I don't care. Yeah, they're not important enough for me to care about, you know. Now, before we go into this, I want to put out and just show you that there's a huge difference between these two infants and Fantastic and Amazing here, right? And that is this. They're charging you money to shit on you, okay? I do this every Sunday and I don't charge you a bean, okay? There's no money involved in me giving you information, okay? The only capital I'm after gaining from doing this is to wake you up to yourself, to show you that everything you need is within. You just have to start to trust it. And the benefit that I receive from that is the fact that you're waking up. Because the more light there is in this world, the easier my path becomes. So you could say a bit of a selfish gig in there, but ultimately it's not the intent. The intent is I want you to understand your position in this game to the best of your ability and capacity, because when you hit a certain measure and a point, you do it all by yourself. Once you click, you don't need the likes of me, only to show that you're not on your own. But you don't actually need me to sit here gobbing off to you every week, because once it clicks for you, you can do it all by yourself. And that is my intention. And that's why I don't charge you a bean to come here to the Wise Asylum and watch Fantastic and Amazing me talk shit all night. Okay? Now, of course, you can send me 25,000 bitcoins if you like. You can send me cash. You can send me what you want. It's appreciated. But you do not have to send me anything to enter the Wise Asylum on a Sunday night. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between moi and these infants that we're about to look at, okay? And that's a massive difference in my opinion. So they can call me what they like. I don't give a shit. Don't matter to me. Now, obviously, this guy's a bit of a tough geezer, I have to say. He's hard as fuck, as we say up north. And we're swearing, it's a Sunday, I know, but you know, you're all grown up. You're all grown up here. And I'm sure you've heard worse down at pub. So, don't be offended if I get excited and swear a bit. That's what we do up here. Granted, we're not as Viking as we used to be, although I'm still pretty much that way, but you know what I'm saying. In general, that negative feminine seems to have spread everywhere these days. But not here. There's no negative feminine in my Fantastic and Amazing temple. Okay, it's just boom, masculine, masculine, masculine. And that's it. So when a fruit bat says this to me, I'm thinking, come again. So let's get on to the right job, because obviously you know that I'm amazing at this. Okay, so now we have to, because see, I'm not prepped it, because I'm not. Right. So, adventures with the infants. Because I couldn't think of anything better to say, but I'm going to just introduce this gig for you, okay? Because you'll get the gist, I'm quite sure. Okay? Chasing rabbits, I say. Okay. I'll just slip that back over here. Oh, wrong mouse. Only takes a mouse or two to confuse me. So, if you're going to be chasing rabbits, you better be prepared to meet one that has a machine gun and grenades. They're not all fluffy bunnies, if you get my drift. So, I think this was the 10th of October, okay? And I received, out of nowhere, a message from this guy, Untitled Known, okay? Now, I know this guy. He's an associate of mine, a good friend. And it said... So, I think what he did... Oh, that's right. He presented a comment on these shysters' Facebook forum. Bearing in mind, I have never been on this thing in my life. No idea. Never, ever, ever been on this. Because I'm not interested. So my mate had commented on here and he said, is Simone M a deceiving, grabbing monster? Simon and Simone equals SS. Hear a song from Nina Simone, a monster, for the loving souls, Simon and Simone. Okay, so that's what he put on their forum. Hang on. Got a text. What's it saying? Oh, yeah, got you. Got you, thanks for that. I bet that's what you're telling me, innit? So, good thinking, Batman. Because last week I had it up as though I had an image up and it weren't up. And nobody texted me. You were just taking my word for it, weren't you? You're lovely. Right, so you can see now, my apologies, chaps. Now, I'll just check that message is that. And not some emergency. Yeah, go for it. Thanks for that, my good man. Right, so that was the comment made by my associate on this forum that I have never in my life been anywhere near. And I mean that. I've never actually ever been on this forum. So he presents that, and then somebody called Empower the People, which is one of the shysters, said, Untitled Known, cheap shot Sean Young. Try being man enough to put your name to a defamatory comment. Oh wait, I forgot you don't have any balls. Would you like me to show you my balls right now on the telly? Because I don't mind. Answers in the comment. If you want to see my scrotum, I'll show them you. Because that's a false statement for a start. It is false. It's false. And I can prove it. If you want. Alright? So obviously this thing here, Empower the People, sounds like she really wants to help people, doesn't it? Thinks Untitled Known is me. Bearing in mind, this is like a week or so after, a couple of weeks after I'd said, at the end of my live stream, I know you all like what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. So they all obviously shit themselves, because they all knew they were up to no good. And they all thought I was talking about them. Which is why I said it. Let's stir the pot before Christmas, thought I. Well, it's done the job all right, hasn't it? So, that is what I received on, I think, the 10th of October. And I'm thinking, well, that's disgusting. It's got nothing to do with me. Here's me, minding my own business, in my own little world, and all of a sudden I'm getting attacked down south for nothing. I'm not even there. So, a good lass called Laura says, decided to remove your comment, I see. Is it because, again, it all comes back on what you both have done to people? The amount of people who said they've been scammed by you both and been spoken to aggressively is impressive. Now, I forgot to see more on there, so we don't get to see any more, because that's, you remember, that's how fantastic and amazing I am. I forgot. So, Laura's pointing out that she's actually removed a particular text, or a message, obviously, because didn't work in her favour. So my mate then puts up, very interesting, and I think that's the image that he sent to me as a message, and I'm thinking, this is disgusting. So this is the flosser in question, right? Simone Letitia Marshall, and it says, Untitled Known, no balls then, Sean House Young. Do you really think people are that dumb not to know your alias? And I'm thinking, is this Flossie or full shilling? Is she just so terrified because they know they've been outed, and not even by me. That they're terrified and seeing monsters everywhere. Well, I think absolutely. She's adamant it's me, and it's nothing to do with me. I even rang my mum and said, "Mum, me and Tiny have done anything wrong." She just said, "Man up, boy, and sort it out." I said, "All right, Mum, I will." Oh. So then I thought, well, I'm not having this. This is disgusting. I'm being offended here. And I'm not even offending anybody. I haven't done nothing. I'm being a good boy. So I thought, we'll play. Let's play along here. So I put Simone Letitia Marshall. So it is you. Shock horror. You must be retarded if you feel like use any pseudonyms outside of life in the mix. And it's not my gamecock. That's northern, of course. And my balls are bigger than those of Barabbas. I can show you if you want. You poor little thing, you must have carried out the things of which you and golden balls, now then, are being accused of. You have made a huge fuck up with this attack on me. But even then I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to do anything, because I can't care. I just thought it was quite hilarious that here's little old me behaving myself and being a good boy and getting attacked all over the shop. And I even had to do with me. So I thought, well, is that the end of it? I'm thinking. And 2 people liked it. You bastards. So I thought, well, She said, "Sure now, Shung, it doesn't take a genius to work out that it's you defaming me as untitled known. You slimy cretin." I'm like, it's not me, I'm telling you, Mum. It's not me, you crazy bitch. She said, "Your Facebook tagline, the fact that you share the same birth date, the fact that you were the only friend on the alias friends list until 2 days ago, the fact that you jumped onto this post as shown immediately after your alias received a notification, a trap set by me, all points to you." And I'm thinking, this girl's fucking crazy. This woman's tapped. So she's now saying it was a trap set up by her to trap me. And I'm like, wow, mental institutions calling here. I think Danny Mullins were 8. Not very clever, are you, Sean? More of a coward than anything else, aren't you? Hiding behind an alias to have a bash at me and Simon. Lowest of the lowest scum, you sad excuse for a man. Oh no, wait, child. I have your full address, so I expect to be served, you twat. I'm like thinking, I'm going to tell him, Mom. And of course I'm thinking, fuck me, this girl's fucking shiting herself. She's definitely shafted all these people. So that's what happened. I'm going, yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to play then. And I said, "Simone Letitia Marshall, you are one seriously dumb cow." And that's swearing. Yeah, that's and I just left it. And somebody liked it. So that's good. And Simone Letitia Marshall said, "Sure now, she'll resorting to name calling then. Just like your mate Laura just received a spurious screenshot." Now until this point, me and Laura were mates. Right there. Just received a spurious screenshot, and she's crying with laughter. A spurious screenshot you sent to yourself via your own alias, untitled known, with you being caught out with your pants down. Well, if I had my pants down, darling, you'd see that my balls are bigger than Barabbas. Yeah, and you want me. Anyway, let's not get down. You sad man. I knew you'd like to make up fairy tales, but imaginary friends now, is it, Sean? I think you might be losing your shit, fella. Or too much time on your hands. Oh my God, if you knew how busy I am, honestly, and the fact that I've never even heard of this forum. Can you see why I want to be mum? You know, it's disgusting. So I said, well, I thought, I've had enough of this shit. Serve me with anything you wish, and if you like, I can come down and meet you and your crew face to face and you can spew your bile. Just make sure the males amongst your crew have a lot to say on your behalf. And then we will talk all about balls. So Rambo will come out by this point. Slander might be a good study for you at this point. Well, of course, it's not his libel, Nick. So I were a bit naughty there, getting excited. Because Rambo will come out, and Rambo, as good as he is, he's not the brightest on the tree, is he? So there you can see that clearly Rambo will come out at this point. So I offered myself, I said, I'll come down, I don't give a fuck, come down on your own, and you bring all your fucking mates, I don't care. And I don't. I will come, but then now I won't. So I'm not going to waste my time. Anyway, Tumarescu. Oh no, that's back up to there, what Untitled said. So there we go. So we're back to the beginning again. So that was the shindig that took place on the 10th. And I'm thinking, oh, and then, no, it's okay for Tim to run it. Oh, she's attacking somebody else as well. So she's having a right game that day. She's really pissed off and attacking everybody. So that's the end of that, and I just laughed it off and thought, well, that's that. I have never still looked at that forum in my life because, you know what, I'm busy. And I don't care about these fruit bats. And so I thought she was just going to go away. I thought, that's the end of it. Yeah, like you do, you think, okay, we've had a little spat on there, and that's the end of it, but... Oh, no. Guess what happened now? Last week, so I'd finished my live stream, done my thing, gone to bed, got up in the morning, and I've got this. Just this. From a guy called Simone Goldenbloomers. And it says, you aren't friends on Facebook. So he's not your friend. Sunday, 14/11, which of course I didn't see until Monday. So I'm a busy boy. He said, Simon Goldenbloom said, I understand that you have something you wish to discuss with me, Sean. Simone Goldenbloom has again said, Sean House-Young, Simone Letitia Marshall, so it is you. You must be retarded if you feel I use any pseudonyms outside Life in the Mix. Hiding is not my game, cock. And my balls are bigger than those of Barabbas. You poor little thing, you must have carried out the things of which you and Golden Balls are being accused of. You made a huge fuck up with this attack on me, says I. Okay, so that was me. Monday, 10/17. And I said, pray tell, what is it? What is it I want to discuss with you? Because I thought I'd said it. I thought I'd said it there. So I said, this is Monday time when I saw it at fair. I thought, what? Well, pray tell so. And he said, Simone Goldenbloom is responding. You had something you wanted to say. Let's have it. I thought, yeah. And I said, did I? I thought I had said it. Thinking, I have. I did. That's the end of it. Simone Goldenbloom has said, say it to me. Say it to me, boy. I thought, oh, it's time to go get me mum. Yeah, I've got to get me mum. And I'm thinking, say what? He said, Simone Goldenbloom said, yeah, I find that a light. People give it big one and bottle it when confronted. I thought, oh no, I bottled it. I've shit myself now. So I had to go to the toilet. It took me 3 toilet rolls to wipe my bottom. Both ways. Backwards and forwards, just to make sure I got rid of it. And then I said, bottle it? Oh, okay, that helps your ego. Tell you what, give your ego to me. Get yourself up north and we can do this the old-fashioned way. Face to face. Rambo's just starting to creep out there, you see. Ooh. Simone Goldenbloom has said, I'll meet you halfway, big boy. Where and when? And I bet you don't show. Well, why the fuck am I going to go anywhere to meet you? You come to me. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm not giving you could come to me, boy. And I said, no, you want to play? Get yourself up here. And Simone Goldenbloom said, you lazy cunt. You're in Accrington, right? Well, it is all over me fucking Facebook and it is all over me YouTube, so I said, get yourself up here and I'll show you. Hey, I'll show. Ain't no mistake, because I will. Simone Goldenbloom has said, a dress. He wants me a dress. He wants me in a dress. So straight away you're thinking, is he a transgender? He wants me in a dress. Oh, a bit worrying at that point. I'm thinking, wait a minute. And he wrote, I said, I'm in Accrington. Come on, bring your friends. I don't need friends. You and me, says Simone Goldenbloomers. And I'm thinking, is this the point where I'm going to get me home again? Because she's not going to be happy. I've rung her up 3 times this last couple of months. She's going to give me a bollocking. So I said, Accrington, meaning, get yourself up here, son. Get yourself up here, pal. Simone Goldenbloom has said, if you think I'm just going to turn up at Accrington not knowing where to go, you are mistaken. Address or location, and I will meet you there. Thinking, you might have sexual fantasies about me. I can understand it, like, you know. I'm thinking, this might be a bit complicated. So I said, sure thing, Rambo. Let me know when you've arrived. Because obviously Rambo come out at this end, and I'm thinking, must be my brother. Oh, well, actually, my sister. I'm thinking, because he's gone a bit funny on it, on this one to me in a dress. Kind of like it. So he started, Simone Goldenbloom said, come along, if T equal you dare. Come on. Better take some Durex just in case I get raped. I'm thinking, fucking hell. So I said, well then, you big talk is just that. Big talk from a little fella you sent. No, so. Oh. No, I said, well then, your big talk is just that. Big talk from a little fella. Yeah. And I said, bye. Thinking, you fuck off now. And he went, pussy, you shut yourself. I knew you would. All talk. I'm thinking, is he trying to go and get me mum? Am I going to get me mum now? I'll just have to track you down the old-fashioned way. Oh my God, I'm proper popping my pants now. So you're going to have to come fucking Costa. I'm always in fucking Costa. Come Costa and I'll meet you. And then we'll go right back because this camera's not Costa now. There's a big park, a big field, bushes, trees. We could go at park. But I'm not shagging you, son. I don't care about, I know you seem to want these dresses. I'm not into dresses. I told I'm not. You need to understand this, Simone. I'm not into dresses. You can wear a dress, but I'm not shagging you. No, there's none of that going on. You better sort your shit out, pal, because there's none of that malarkey going on here. Alright? So I'll just have to track you down the old-fashioned way. I'm thinking, you want to try and meet me in a club? I don't drink. You're not going to have any luck there, pal. So, I said, you don't have to track me down, just get your ass up here. Wrong, shouldn't have chose that word. Wrong choice of words, word it arse, really, because that's going to excite him. Lol, you're playing games, you little pussy. I'm thinking, he's getting sex talk now, it's turning into sex talk, I'm getting worried. This guy's funny and when and where. You keep avoiding the question. I don't. I've told you. Come up here. I'm in Accrington. Come. Just don't expect me to wear a dress. Because that did concern me somewhat, you know. You said, or me, said, if that makes you feel good, but still, get yourself up here. It's called Accrington. Called Ackie. Even Scousers know where it is. And he said, bullshitter. Accrington is a big place. Clearly you are bottling it. Ha ha ha. Time, date, location. Next you'll be saying England. Lol. I was trying to do now. Spruce it up with lol. Or is he being sarcastic? She's probably being sarcastic. So we'll go with the sarcastic. That's what's going on here. Because he wants me to wear a fucking dress. And I said, no, Accrington, small town. Just send me a message when you arrive. Okay, so I can put my chastity belt on, just in case. And he said, I don't use mobile phones, so how do you propose that I send you a message? I'll tell you what, don't worry, I believe I have your address now. He's got me a dress. He's got me a fucking dress. Fuck's sake, oh my God. I will come to you. Again, it's getting a bit dirty, innit? I will come to you. As long as you didn't say I'll come on you, because you're not doing that, son, I'll tell you that now. And you can say what you have to say to my face. With pleasure, pal. I'll say whatever. Right in your face. You can have all your friends with you. I don't care. Joker, the population of Accrington, England was 34,897 in 2021. What the fuck's that got to do with it? I don't get it. I didn't ask you to buy a dress. In the first place, I certainly didn't expect you to buy one for 34,897 people. And we're actually in 2024. So I'm thinking to myself, this guy's as fruitcake as his mole. Letitia. These two fruit bats together, I'm thinking they're both completely tapped and terrified because obviously they've been outed and everybody now knows that they're assholes and shilling, making a fortune and then threatening everybody with all sorts of garbage, which, if you look at this, there's your evidence. This is how he deals with people. Shouting, bawling, crying and wants them to wear dresses. Bit worrying, I have to say. Oh dear. So what next? I forgot myself what happened here. I just said, looking forward, however, I'm more a jeans, t-shirt and big boots kind of guy. Not into dresses, to be fair. So I'm making it clear now that, look, come by all means, but don't be expecting me to wear a fucking dress. And really, I should have added, don't you be wearing a dress neither. You know what I mean? Because people are watching, I don't want people thinking, oh, I'm one of them transgenders kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? So, Simone Goldenbloom has said, we'll see. And that endeth the threats to little old me. Now apparently, and I haven't watched it because I can't be fucking arsed and I'm not interested. Apparently, he's done a video because he's found a big secret, which isn't a secret. It's how they fucked me over in 2014 when I got set up. I'll tell you quickly what happened. There I am, Sunday night, Sunday early morning, dreaming about all those lovely, beautiful females chasing my body. And I got woke up with boom, 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 boom at my door. And I'm thinking, what? 10 to 7 in the morning? Now back then I had a flat and you come up some big concrete steps. But at the top of the concrete steps where you turn to the door, I had a window in the kitchen. So I'm half asleep over this window. Two what looked like SAS stormtroopers at my door. And I'm thinking, fucking hell, they're coppers. So I'm looking again and I thought, they're not coppers. Bailiffs. Two bailiffs at my door. We've clamped your car. And I'm like, half asleep. I'm like, what? What? Oh, I said, you better check your records. I said, that vehicle isn't registered in the name that you're seeking at this address. Well, we've clamped your car. Yeah, they pay you blah, blah, blah. Shows the V5. I said, well, I wouldn't have the V5, would I? Because I don't own the car. I said, but I can get it, yeah? Well, we're not taking the club. I said, just go and check your records. So, obviously, as I'm starting to wake up, I'm getting infuriated. So, by this time, I'm spitting and I thought, right, you bastards, if I've got to get your V5, I'm cutting your clamp off. So, I cut the clamp off. Went and got the V5, waiting for them to come back. So, when they come back, I goes door and I said, there you go. They looked at it and went, white. Fucking white. I said, did I tell you to check your fucking records? Now, the mistake I made so many mistakes that morning, you wouldn't believe it. And that's because I'd had a break of about 5 years where I didn't have to bother with any law. And I'd forgot everything. Whereas before, I were on the ball for every potential. I'd just completely forgot. And I have to accept, I did everything wrong. And this were a payback from doing battle. Because what I'd done, I put all the councillors on notice that they were installing fascism from 2001. I'd broken the biggest global media game that were going on at the old school Moorhead in relation to race, riots. I smashed it to pieces. Councillors had heart attacks. Masons had heart attacks. I caused havoc. Not to mention, I outed the entire scam that was going on from the Job Centre shift to Job Centre Plus, and put Baroness Moore on the frame for knowingly installing it. And I took Queen to court. I'd upset a lot of people. So I knew they were going to come back to me at some point, because they don't forget. And I'd forgotten, left everything, just did everything wrong. So I cut this clamp off, like a fool, and kept the fucking clamp. I should have thrown it away, and then there was no evidence of a clamp. Did everything wrong. So these fuckers just stood there white as ghosts. One were a woman, one were a fella. And I said, right, you better fuck off. So they did. They started walking down me steps. Now, them steps were dangerous. They were concrete fucking steps, and there were about probably 10 of them. So it were a high fucking thing. And I'd fell down and up them steps a couple of times and nearly killed myself, right? That's how dangerous they were. So they went down the steps, marched off my garden wall, my garden path, into the car. In the car, on the phones, and miserable as fuck, because all the fucking neighbours were watching them. And they were really gutted at the fact that I'd shown them the V5, so they cocked it up completely. But then all of a sudden, they started laughing their tits off and smiling their asses off. Next news, fucking Sweeney Todd's at my door, 25,000 coppers. I'm being arrested for beating the shit out of this fucking woman, bailiff, right? All the way down the steps, all the way across my path, and in his statement that I'd sort of smashed it to fuck against the garden gate. There weren't even a fucking garden gate there. There was no fence across the front of it at all. Her entire statement was garbage. That didn't matter. I got arrested, right? So I get arrested. So after I spent my time in cells and they'd done their thing, I come back and they've got fucking cameras down all my drains and all around my flat. And I just pissed myself laughing at them. I walked into the back garden, they're all there with fucking cameras down here. They must have cost them a fortune to put all this tech there. And I was just roaring with laughter at them. They felt that big, it was so funny. So, any road, I ended up going to court. And I had a brief. The brief had gone in to talk beforehand, coming to me, he went, is there something going on here I don't know about? I said, wow, what's up? He said, they've got the worst 3 magistrates and they brought in a fucking specialist advisor. I'm like, why? He said, I don't know. He said, is there something going on here? I went, no. So I started writing off scans. Went, oh, that'll do it. That's all right. So he goes into court. And so we're in there, and I'm not joking, these magistrates, they were half dead. They were probably 90-year-old. Their eyes were shut with fucking loads of goo coming out. They were absolutely zombies. I've never seen anything like it. You'd expected to see something like that on Muppet Show kind of thing, as a caricature. You've never seen anything like it, so I understood what he meant when he said they got the worst magistrates. And this tit, a specialist advisor, sat below him at the side with a little goatee beard, looked like Captain Kentucky. So off we go. No, before we kicks off, this fucking counsellor, the judge, said, Mr. Young, do not answer a question with a question. And I'm thinking, well, that fucked it, doesn't it? That's completely screwed my game. Anyway, I had something to say about that, can't remember what. But any roads, it gets to a point where my brief's cross-examining this bailiff, right? So I'd give him up points, I'd give him up photographs and everything to show that this witness statement were complete garbage. As soon as he asked her the first question, she was fucking striking her eyes out, fumbling like she was going to faint, right? It was fucking obvious she was full of shit. And he'd only asked her one question. This is when this tit stood up, this specialist advisor, started talking out of his fucking ass. I've never heard such shit because I was listening to every word he was saying. And I noticed that the judges weren't paying attention to what he's saying, but he ended every fucking bit by saying, if it was not so, there would be anarchy. And then these judges would go, oh, anarchy, we've heard anarchy. That's all they were listening to. So basically, this specialist advisor has prevented my brief from cross-examining this shitbag in its entirety. So we broke off. Well, before we broke off, I said to this, I was laughing my tits off at this advisor, mate. I couldn't believe it. My brief was shitting himself. And I said to him at the end, I said, oi, pal, I want to know your fucking name. He's like, you can't understand, you're the defendant. I said, hey, pal, I want to know your fucking name. My brief's bouncing off walls. So we had a break, goes in, and he's fucking like, okay, no, you weren't talking to me like, oh, I'm on here, boss. So who the fuck is it? I said, I want to know his name. Go and find it. He's go, well, okay. I said, go and get me his name. So, anyway. So he come back and he said he's called blah, 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 blah. I said, right, thank you very much. He goes back in, and this guy's like, oh. Sat like that, his little go-to-be. Never said a fucking word after that. Shit himself, he did. So because they'd done that, we stopped the cross-examination, because it was obvious you were full of shit. They just got, you found you guilty, blah, 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 fucking blah. We're going to adjourn sentencing. I'm thinking, well, that didn't go very well. That was shit. I'm looking at my brief, I'm thinking, you were fucking rubbish. But in the meet, I didn't really. He was a nice lad, he just didn't know his ass from his elbow. And we had a lot of good chats in between all this, and I taught him quite a lot. The main point being that, actually, guys, you're not playing with law, you're playing with Napoleonic Code here, which they liked, because they'd never heard of it before, because you don't get trained. Anyway, cut short, what I learned were, from when they find you guilty to sentencing, you've got to go for a probation meeting. And the probation meeting is it's so important, it's going to decide how they sentence you. Now, they were trying to put me in fucking nick, these bollocks. And I'm thinking they're going to feed me fucking horse shit and all sorts. Anyway, so they're trying to bang me up at nick. I said to my brief, I said, get me a barrister. I said, I'm appealing this. I said, because it's bullshit. Every single bit of this is bullshit. And at that point, my brief's still giving it like, oh, I'm not so sure. I'm getting, look, this is bollocks. Everything she said is garbage. I said, we're appealing. I said, I'm not having it. So that gets set in, but I had to go for this probation meeting. And again, like I said, and what I learned was this is the decider. Whatever the probation say about that meeting is going to determine your sentence. So I goes to this probation office, right, and I walks in and there's two big fucking guys there, right, big fucking guys. One of them's in front of me, and one of them positioned himself up back of me. And the energy in that room, I could feel it. I'm thinking, this is a bit oof. So I'm looking at them like that. And they kept looking at me, and then I could see him in front, looking at him behind. And he kept doing that, and they're like, what's your name? So I told them it. Anyway, it was really awkward, and we get sat down in this office. He sat there, and I'm here, and this guy stood behind me. And it was just such an odd gig. And so we were 20 minutes in, but all that's going on, I could see these guys sort of like calming down and kept looking at each other with this like that. So I just stopped them after 20 minutes. I said, look, lads, I said, I don't mean to be funny. I said, but there's a fucking hell of an atmosphere going on here. I said, what's up? So they looked at each other like that, and he went, well, mate, he said, we've been prepped by the police and told that you are a psychotic fucking maniac, drug dealer. I'm like, oh. He went, but we can see that you're fucking not. I said, yeah. I said, to be honest, I said, the police have been passing it around everywhere that I'm like the number one fucking drug dealer in Aki since 80s. I said, so that's not new to me. I said, but the violent and psychotic bit, I said, that's new. So we ended up having a right fucking laugh, right? And I got a glowing report from these probation, and that was the first point at which you could see that people were starting to go like, what's going on here? This isn't right. Something's not right here. So I got a glowing report. The sentence was I got £1,350 fine and 250 fucking hours community service. The other day I thought it was 250 hours to give me. I were on this community service, there were guys there selling crack and coke getting 50 hours. And I got 250 fucking hours. Can you believe it? Do you know why? Because we had the appeal. There were 2 appeals going on, so that there were like 9 barristers around. And they weren't shifting out of court for each one. They were there. And they stayed. And when it come to mine, fucking press were everywhere. Oh, they were like, right? So it looked posh as fuck. You know, it was a proper gig and it looked professional. And I'm thinking, we're alright here because she's going to get fucking cross-examined. And to the guy I speak to, we were not anywhere not fucking seen after that. This other Bailey, just there. So he does its thing, and I said, so she's up there, and my barrister's well, she were fucking crying, collapsing, threatening into faint, wouldn't answer any questions, kept going, well, I thought. So my barrister putting up these pictures, saying, don't fucking get there. Well, I thought. I should have stood up and said, what, you mean You weren't dealing on fact. You were trying to remember what your fucking copy mates had told you when you were on that phone outside my fucking house after you'd been given V5. I said, is that what you mean? I should have done, but I didn't. So, anyway, that goes on. Everybody in the court, I was watching. When she started flubbering and everybody could see she was full of shit, all the barristers were going like, oh my God. Even the press were going, oh shit, this is garbage, yeah? So I'm thinking, oh, we've cracked it here, we're going to get away. So I said my bit, this fucking woman judge, probably a small one, stood up and went, well, I've heard nothing here today that changes your original ruling. And I'm thinking, what? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. That when I started, I thought I have to start again with this law shit. Everything I thought I know is garbage. And so they carried it on, and I just thought, I'm not fucking bothered with this, so I did it. So I paid the 1,350 quid fine, and I did 250 hours community service. But everybody in the whole game could see as it moved forward, and especially when we did probation and all that, we aced that. I ended up twisting criminal minds. The probation people fucking loved me at the end of it, because there were me and another guy who were he were civils. So me and him decided, because you did 10 years to Saturday and Sunday, we were there, and you'd fix up stuff, all over the show. So we decided we'd do it proper, right? So we ended up having a whole fucking team, and we were creating beauty everywhere we went. So they started putting us on the whole fucking top-notch stuff. And for that whole summer, we fucking created beauty for these probation guys, on these weekly. I mean, they loved us. They fucking loved me at the end of it. And they knew it was bullshit. So everybody in that gig knew it was garbage and that I'd been completely set up. So Simone Golden Bloomers, you found fuck all, son. You found nothing. That was no secret. Because the fucking press plastered it across the entire Lancashire fucking front page newspapers. They took me pictures off my Facebook, made sure they showed me work logo while I was at work, saying, don't get any work off this twat, because he's beat the fuck out of a woman. Utter shit. But what you wouldn't realise, Bloomers, is this. When you're a shill like you're not doing anything that excites the powers that be, so you're never going to suffer anything like that. I accepted it. Do you know why? Because I've been doing battle with him for a long time. And so I took it on the chin because they fought back, and that's fucking fine in my book. But if that were to happen to you, Sunshine, and your little mole, you'd be crying your little bastard eyeballs out. Because you're crying your eyeballs out now. And I haven't done anything. Okay? So take your little game, pal, and fuck off. And if you want to come up here, and you want to play out with me, I'll fucking meet you on Costa Car Park in Accrington. Just get yourself there. I'll come. And I'll tell you now, son, you can have it any way you fucking want. Alright? Any way you fucking want. Because if you think you worry me, I don't care if you're 7'6". Believe me, I'll eat you for me fucking breakfast. Simple as. So, whatever you want to do, Sunshine, entirely up to you. You want to do label, you've called me a cunt, you've called me a twat, you've called me all sorts. And you've told everybody you want me to wear a dress. I don't think that's gone down right well for you, Sunshine, has it? But anyway, whatever you want to play, pal, is fine by me, because I'll tell you now, pal, I don't do scare, I don't do fear, but I do kick ass. So whichever way you want it, Sunshine. You want to carry on? Carry on, because I don't give a shit. And unlike you, I'm not charging anybody shit, and I'm not screwing people over. Everything I do here is free. It's free, and you can take it or leave it, and I won't fall out with you. And if you want to fall out with me, that's fine. I'm not going to send you threatening letters and take you to court, because I'm not a child, son. Okay? And I'm certainly not going to blame everybody else and his dog for what you have clearly done to a lot of people, and you've took their money. You've took their money, you've shafted them, you've blamed everybody else, and you've sent them threatening letters to try and scare the bejesus out of them. Well, son, you've picked the wrong guy. But if you want to carry on, pal, you carry on. But let me tell you, I won't be coming anywhere to find you. But if you want to find me, I'm in Accrington, little town up north. Get yourself on Costa Car Park, give me a message. Get yourself a burner phone, son. You're a banker. You've earned a fortune off these people. Cost you 20 quid. I don't care whether you have a phone or not. Go and buy yourself one for 20 quid. Come up to Accrington, and then you can show the entire audience out there that you've been calling arseholes and threatening just how tough you're not. okay? And we'll video it if you like, if you want to do a bit of the old fisticuffs, because I don't give a shit. But I'll eat you for my breakfast. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say, have a good one. I hope you like me, new pad. St. James watching over us. Geronimo here watching over us. I'll put him on the wall with his two amigos for next week. And I hope you have a good week. And I hope you can now see what tossers are out there. Don't give them your money. They're not going to give you what you want. And stop chasing money, people. It's not about money. It's about claiming your rights. Not claiming millions and millions of fiat promissory notes, which is debt. So, on the one hand, you know, let that be a lesson to you. Don't trust anybody if you're handing them over money. Till the next time.
confronting.